Have you ever been up late at night, staring at your ceiling, wondering how the heck you're supposed to pay off your credit cards and save for retirement? Maybe you've told yourself, if I could just get one big break or maybe win the lottery, I'd be set. Now here's the part that might sting a little. The rich, they borrow money to get richer, and they sleep like babies at night. Crazy, right? Because most of us were taught that debt is dangerous, that it's something to avoid like pineapple on pizza or a text from your ex at 2 a.m. But what if I told you that debt isn't the villain in this story? It's the misunderstood anti-hero. A tool, a weapon, a double-edged sword. Used recklessly, it'll cut you deep. Used wisely, it'll build an empire. So today, let's unpack how the wealthy use debt not just to survive, but to thrive. We're going to explore 6 powerful ways the rich harness debt to build empires, avoid taxes, and generate wealth on autopilot, while the rest of us are stuck paying off student loans and praying gas prices go down. Ready? Buckle up. This might just change how you look at money forever. 1. The rich build empires with someone else's money. Let's take a little trip back in time. Picture a teenage boy in the 1800s. John D. Rockefeller. No silver spoon, son of a traveling salesman and a farmer's daughter. Not some genius prodigy either. He dropped out of high school. In today's world, we might say kids not going far. But Rockefeller had one thing going for him. He understood money. At just 16, he got a job as an assistant bookkeeper. That's where he learned the game, not from textbooks or professors, but from real business, real transactions, and real people. He saw that money moved through debt like electricity through wires, and when he wanted to start his own business, he didn't wait until he had enough savings. He borrowed $1,000 from his father. Doesn't sound like much today, but in modern dollars, that's around $35,000. What did he do with it? He flipped commodities, things like grain and meat. Then he got into oil. But here's where the magic happened. He borrowed more to buy out smaller competitors. His company, Standard Oil, eventually controlled 90% of all oil in the US. He used debt not like a crutch, but like a crowbar to pry open opportunity. So here's a question worth losing sleep over. What if the reason you're not building wealth is because you're trying to do it all on your own dime? 2. The rich don't take salaries. They borrow their lifestyle. Let's zoom into the present day. Picture Elon Musk, private jets, billion-dollar companies, 5-star everything. Now guess his salary. 0. He doesn't take one. He doesn't need to. He owns billions in Tesla stock. And rather than selling shares and paying capital gains tax, he borrows against those shares to fund his lifestyle. Why? Because debt isn't taxed. If he sells stock, he pays taxes. But if he borrows against it, it's considered a loan. No income, no taxes, just liquidity. Let me put it this way. You and I work 40, 50, sometimes 60 hours a week for money. We immediately lose a chunk of to taxes. Elon Musk borrows hundreds of millions tax-free, lives like royalty, and still owns the appreciating asset. Feels unfair? It is until you learn the rules of the game. So let me ask you, are you trading time for money, while the rich trade assets for freedom? 3. The rich love real estate, but rarely live in it. Let me tell you a secret. The rich aren't obsessed with real estate because they love big houses. They love leverage. Regular folks might spend their entire lives paying off one mortgage. The wealthy, they buy 5, 10, even 20 homes, not to live in, but to rent out. In 2018, Elon Musk borrowed $61 million to buy 5 homes in California. He could have paid cash, but he didn't. Why? Because he knows real estate lets you borrow cheap money, generate passive income, and thanks to depreciation, avoid taxes legally. Let's say you buy $1 million property. You borrow 80%, get some investors to cover the rest, and rent it for $140,000 a year. You pay $120,000 in mortgage and maintenance, leaving you with $20,000 profit. Now here's the kicker. You can claim depreciation. On paper, you're losing money. So you pay 0 tax on that $20,000. You profit, and the IRS can't touch it. Here's something to think about. Why are we all obsessed with owning our home, when the wealthy use homes to own cash flow? 4. The rich keep their money separate. Remember when Elon Musk bought Twitter? He was worth over $250 billion, and yet he didn't pay cash. He borrowed $13 billion not from his own pocket, but using Twitter's future revenue as collateral. It's called a leveraged buyout, LBO, and here's the genius. If Twitter succeeds, Elon wins big. If Twitter flops, his personal wealth is untouched. He doesn't have to sell his Tesla shares. The risk stays with the business. This is something everyday people often get wrong. They max out personal credit cards to start businesses. They mortgage their house to buy a pizza franchise. But the rich, they keep things separate. Their personal wealth is protected like grandma's. So I'll ask, do you treat your finances like a fortress or like a free-for-all? 5. The rich don't wait for liquidity. They create it. The wealthy don't like selling their assets. Stocks, property, businesses, they hold on to them like family heirlooms. But when opportunity knocks, they need liquidity, fast. So what do? They borrow against their assets. Because their assets will grow, they want to leave them to their kids. Why cash them out today when they can borrow, invest in growth and repay from profits later? How many opportunities have passed you by because your money was locked up? The rich don't miss those chances. They make money fluid, and then they let it flow into the next big thing. In 2023, Indian billionaire Mukesh Ambani borrowed $5.5 billion to roll out 5G across India. Could he afford it? Absolutely. His net worth was over $80 billion, but he didn't want to sell off assets. Why? Because he plans to pass them to his children. He borrowed instead, knowing full well the future profits from 5G would cover the debt. Liquidity isn't about how much cash you have. It's about how fast you can access value without sacrificing your future. So ask yourself, are you holding on to your assets, or are they holding you back? 6. The rich let inflation pay their debts. Last story, Mark Zuckerberg. In 2012, he took out a mortgage on his home with an interest rate of 1.05%. He was worth over $15 billion at the time. He could have bought the house with pocket change, but he didn't. Instead, he borrowed the money, locked in that ultra-low rate, and invested the cash elsewhere for a higher return. Plus, with inflation, the real value of his mortgage payments shrinks every year. That's the magic. He bought a home today, and inflation paid for it tomorrow. The rest of us rush to pay off debt. The wealthy stretch it out and let time eat away the cost. So here's the final question. Are you paying your debts off faster than you need to, and missing out on the wealth you could be building instead? Debt isn't evil. It's not even bad. It's just misunderstood. Used recklessly, yes, it'll destroy you. But used wisely, it's a superpower. The difference lies not in the size of the bank account, but in financial literacy. The rich don't fear debt because they understand it. They learn the rules, and then they play the game better than anyone else. Debt is not the enemy. Ignorance is. The poor use debt to survive. The middle class uses debt to buy liabilities. The rich use debt to buy assets, build businesses, avoid taxes, and create financial freedom. This isn't about being lucky. It's about being literate, financially literate. So next time someone tells you all debt is bad, smile politely, and remember, a knife in the hands of a surgeon saves lives, but in the hands of the untrained, it just cuts. So ask yourself, are you afraid of debt because it's dangerous, or because you've never been taught how to use it? What dreams are you postponing simply because you think you need your own money to chase them? What could you build? What legacy could you leave if you used other people's money the right way? Because at the end of the day, the rich aren't just lucky, they're strategic, and their secret weapon isn't always cash, it's credit. So maybe, just maybe, your first big move isn't to earn more, it's to learn more. If you found this eye-opening, share it with someone who still believes being debt-free is the only way to build wealth. Or better yet, start learning the rules of the game. Because the rich aren't playing harder, they're playing smarter.